Fantasy football season is quickly approaching, so it's time to get your mock drafts underway. And all of us here at Sports Illustrated, we did a mock draft. One of those participants, SI senior fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, I want to talk to you about your team. You had the third overall pick, and you had a very, very interesting strategy. I think you shocked a lot of people by taking Ezekiel Elliott third overall.
Zeke had a bad year. I get it in 2020. When you lose 3/5 of your offensive line, when your quarterback is Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert and Andy Dalton, you're not going to put up the type of numbers that people expected of you. And Zeke was still the RB9. So it wasn't like he was awful, right? He looks great. If you read reports about Zeke going into camp, he is in great shape. He's got Dak back. The offensive line will be back at 100%. Let's hope it stays that way. And before Dak Prescott got hurt last year, Bill, Zeke was the RB3. And Zeke has always been one of the more reliable and productive running backs in fantasy football ever since he's come out of college. And oh, by the way, he's still in the prime of his career at 26 years old. So Zeke has certainly moved up for me. I've been able to get him in some mocks and best balls in the second half of round one. At that point, man, I feel like I'm stealing.
All right, so you took the Cowboys running back, third overall pick. You followed it up in the second round by taking the Steelers rookie running back, Najee Harris. Now, this was all the way at the end. It was a snake draft. It was all the way at the end of the second round. Do you expect his ADP to continue to climb as we get a little bit closer to the regular season?
I was surprised he was there, to be quite honest with you. That's probably the latest I've seen Harris go in more recent best ball and mock drafts that I've been involved in. And like, I get it. Like, there's some level of risk with a rookie running back, but you go to Pittsburgh where they didn't have a true featured back, right? The offensive line has got some question marks, I understand, but that doesn't mean that it's a complete death blow to Harris's value. He's a 3-down back and catch the ball out of the backfield. Mike Tomlin's always uses one featured back during his time there as the head coach in Pittsburgh. I felt really good about Najee Harris. In fact, he is a player I've been targeting in the second round when he's available. But there have been some mock drafts, Bill, where he's come off the board at the end of round one. And I wouldn't be surprised, as you mentioned, if he rises a little bit. I feel like he went a little bit later than normal in this mock.
Fantasy football players certainly love drafting rookie running backs. So I'm with you. I think Harris will certainly end up going early second, maybe at the end of round one as we get to the end of August here. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about quarterbacks, because to start off the third round, Patrick Mahomes came off the board. And if you look at this, the draft board, you'll notice that the next quarterback didn't come off the board until three rounds later. You took Dak Prescott 4 rounds after Patrick Mahomes was selected. So let me ask you, does it make sense to draft Mahomes that early, knowing you can get a guy like Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen 3 or 4 rounds later?
Nope. It never has for me. And I'm not saying Mahomes isn't great, because he is. Who was the number one quarterback in fantasy football last year? It wasn't Patrick Mahomes, it was Josh Allen. And 2 years ago, Dak Prescott averaged more points per game than Patrick Mahomes. In fact, last year, and I get it, it was a smaller sample size because he got hurt, he averaged around 3 more points per game than Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is great, folks. Don't get me wrong, and he deserves to be the QB1. There's so many good quarterbacks, though. I just feel like it doesn't make much sense to get Mahomes and hurt yourself at RB2, or maybe your wide receiver 1, or maybe your tight end position, whatever the case may be. Dak Prescott was on pace for almost 6,000 passing yards last year. The defense might be better. Maybe it won't be. But Dak is a guy who is back to 100%. All the reports that we've heard in his recovery from that gruesome injury last season are all very positive. And the Cowboys are going to score points, and they're going to need to, because the defense may not be all that great. He's got 3 great wide receivers. He'll have Blake Jarwin back as well. Zeke Elliott will be Zeke Elliott again. That offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. And if I can get Dak Prescott in the 7th round, I will take that all day long.
Let's go over 2 wide receivers. A.J. Brown, the final pick in the second round. I took Julio Jones, his new teammate, with the 3rd pick in the 4th round. Which of the side would you like to be on? Would you rather have A.J. Brown a little bit early, or are you expecting a bounce back season for Julio? I think it's great value in the 4th round, but he is playing in a new team on a run-first offense.
I think Julio in the 4th round is probably going to end up being like the chalk round for him. He may draft to the 5th round in some smaller leagues, but the 4th round feels about right. That's where he's been going. And I don't know that he returns to being an elite fantasy player in Tennessee. He's 32 years old, not old by any stretch of the imagination at wide receiver, but older. And he's got another guy, A.J. Brown, in the mix, who is the number 1 wide receiver there for the Tennessee Titans. You mentioned they're going to run the football a lot with Derrick Henry. Sure, a heck of a lot more than they ran the ball in Atlanta the last few seasons. So I think Julio takes a step back. He's not a wide receiver 1 in fantasy anymore. He's more of a wide receiver 2. So I feel like getting him there in the 4th round is probably going to end up being where Julio gets drafted in a lot of leagues. But he's no longer an elite wide receiver 1. Once again, Bill, he's a wide receiver 2.
We're going to be doing plenty more of these mock drafts that you can follow along by checking all our content out. Go to si.com/fantasy.